Oh, conference next year.
In Sochi?
Yeah. Yeah, Sochi, but very beautiful thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce I'm representing Mr. Randy Davis from Fairfax, Virginia in USA. I want to announce that he, after approximately 25 years of working with the United States Patent Office and answering their questions, one after the other during that period, finally got his patent approved on 19 August 2019. And he is now wanting to do experimental testing of his reactor and is looking for a laboratory to do it in. And if you have the opportunity to talk with me, I might be able to give you some information that would tell you more about the nature of his reactor. But I think it's a giant step forward for his participation in our society. And I think that it's a very significant activity that he is able to do over the last 25 years of getting that patent approved. He also had a patent approved 25 years ago, so it's not his first experience, but it's getting exceedingly difficult to do such things. And I think we should take advantage of it by finding him a place to build. Well, he already has the reactor built. He just needs a place to test it in an appropriate facility. Thank you.
So just some moments, we are waiting for it's coming.
Your video is going in dust. Yes.
Well, I think this must be the best attended ICCF general meeting we've ever had. I haven't counted how many you are, but there are at least 40 people in the room. So that's remarkable. I think the quorum is about 15, so we'll certainly have a quorum here tonight. But we're not going to discuss any resolution, but we will have, at the end of my talk, some informal discussion about general political, economic, technical, any issues you like to be discussed at the end of this. And we've got an hour before the International Advisory Committee meeting after this, so we have plenty of time. I hope we don't actually use an entire hour, because I don't like talking that much. And I'm sure if you've been listening to people all day, you're probably getting pretty tired and hungry as well.
May I have a question?
Yes.
You are inviting now only non-members of the society. Can other members of society participate in this meeting?
Yes. Non-ICMNS members are welcome to attend.
But how about the members of ICMC?
They're even more welcome.
Okay, thank you.
The status of the society hasn't really changed very much, but over the last 2 years we've been talking about conversion to some kind of new legal entity. And so I'm going to talk about that, and at the end of the session, as I say, we'll talk about any other business. And I'm going to raise a topic for discussion, which I hope you'll participate in. The old executive committee retired 4 years ago, and over the meantime, an almost ad hoc committee, courtesy of Mahdi Srinivasan, known as Chino, Alan Smith, Ruby Carrot, who is the new web visitor, she also did the web for this conference, nominated to the executive committee, joining Jean-Paul Biberian and myself. So there's plenty of room there for any volunteers who would like to participate, collaborate, or whatever. If we can reach a number of 10, which is the maximum number of officers we can have, then we will start having elections again. But if there are too many candidates, then we don't bother. Actually, this makes for a very good, streamlined and cheap nominations to the executive committee. However, in the past we have had elections, and it's been good fun seeing how popular different people's policies are, because it's usually the case they stand up in front here during a general meeting and make a little speech explaining what they would like to do. Anyway, let's go straight ahead. The finances are extremely modest in a normal year. I've said the last 2 years, 2016, 2017 here, and we're slowly making a profit, accumulating some very, very modest funds, I have to say. 2018 will also show a profit thanks to the workshop in Great Show. In fact, I'm inclined to say that the only way that the society can make money at all is by organising conferences and workshops. This is a good source of income, and it pays effectively for the electronic journal, which is a major expenditure of the society. The legal structure at the moment is a limited company, and it's a limited company guaranteed, limited by guarantee, which basically means there's no share capital or anything like that, as it would be for a with-profit company. Instead, every member of the society, in theory, has to pay, I think it's £5 or £10 or something, should we go bankrupt. In practice, it'd be impossible to contact all the members of the society. I think your liability would be limited to nothing. No creditor would ever chase after you. But perhaps in the future, with some other legal structure, there would be no liability whatsoever.
There's a Brexit.
I'm going to mention Brexit in a minute. So this is a slide I had in a previous year. It would be nice if the bureaucracy involved in having a legal structure was limited in some way. And my past advice to the members is to convert to a charitable incorporated organisation, a CIO, which is no longer required to register with Companies House. However, there would of course be some savings in doing this, but in practice those savings over the years are getting more and more marginal. For example, Companies House regulates us with less severity than once. For example, filing our accounts just requires a single sheet showing the balance sheet and the profit, or in the case of a charity, the surplus. So I don't think there's quite such a big advantage as there might have been in the past in forming the CIO. And there might be some disadvantages. And I want to discuss some of those with you tonight. So if you like, I'm reversing my policy of the past years, which just goes to show that maybe sometimes important decisions like changing your legal structure does require a lot of thought. The problem on the horizon, it's very much on the horizon with us Brits, is Brexit, of course. If Britain leaves the European Union without a deal, We are no longer part of the European Union. We cannot participate in European research projects for which the society would be ideally placed. And I'll explain that in a moment. The solution would be to form some new non-UK entity, preferably in the European Union again, preferably speaking English, which really reduces the options to either Ireland or to Malta. They're the only other English-speaking countries. I think it'd be rather fun to have some meetings in Malta because it's a good holiday resort. And of course, in Ireland we have plenty of beer. Why is the European Union so important? Well, under the European funding proposals, which I think we'll hear more about tomorrow from Rogeri, for a non-profit entity like ICCF, we could, in theory, triple, quadruple, I should say, the amount of money coming in. And if the money coming in came in through a donation, there'd be tax relief on that for the donor, whether in the US or in the UK. So if a donation, for example, of 100,000 euros was made, there'd be a tax claim of 25,000, which would multiply that to 125,000. And then the EU would put in 3 times as much, and so the total would be 500,000, which is quite a good multiplier, really. So we can multiply by, 5 times, obviously. So there's no reason why a US company should not make a donation, and we would multiply that by a factor of 5. I noticed that, and you'll be glad to hear, Matteo, that I've got some insect repellent cream and antihistamine stuff. It won't be bitten by mosquitoes. It's in the office if anybody wants that.
Stephen was about to go ahead. Go ahead.
I accept interruptions at any time. Oh, okay. Well, if we go ahead and turn to the CIO, we'll just draft a new constitution. The members would approve such a constitution at a meeting like this, would file the documents, and that would be all. It would not be, there's a continuity of legal identity. Consequently, they wouldn't necessarily open new bank accounts, stipulate any new contracts, or anything like that. And so, in that sense, the reorganization would be extremely simple. On the other hand, if we change the country of the legal structure, we'd have to close down ICCF, but first make a donation of all its assets and debts to the new structure, and then set up the new company. This is not such a big deal, really. If it only happens once every 20 years, it's not expensive, it's not a big problem, and I'm sure we can do it. So I would be open to any of your suggestions when we talk about this at the end of the meeting. So, one of the things we can do if we do reorganize is to have a new constitution. And I brought up this subject last year, and we can talk about it again if you have any more thoughts. One thought which has been proposed by Alan Smith was that we could change the objectives very slightly and say that one of the objectives of the society is not just to educate people, but also to maintain an archive of documents or devices for historical purposes. That doesn't mean that the society is going to open a museum. It could merely facilitate a private person holding these items for posterity. And notionally, ICCF would be the legal owner. We would guarantee that the materials donated are suitably stored. And the advantage of having a society doing this is, of course, continuity. Individuals die, and if you donated some equipment or some documents to an individual, it's quite possible the executors of an old person would not even recognize them as what they are. They'd just be thrown out. And that would be a terrible pity if we discovered that, say, Martin Fleischmann's original letters on cold fusion were lost. We don't have those, but it's an example of what could happen. Okay, I think I'm going to skip over this. I think you've heard all this before in previous AGMs. And so this is my last slide, and I would like to discuss, as we discussed in Sendai, that we have a very valuable gold medal in memory of the founder of the Toyota Motor Company in Japan. And this family, together with members of this society, all donated some funds to mint 5 gold medals. Now I have to say that these gold medals weigh 93 grams. They feel really substantial and heavy. If you get one of these, you're going to be really pleased with yourself. And you can be quite sure that there's a lot of prestige associated with it, because the last one was given to Lyon. The first and only one given, actually, was awarded to Martin Fleischmann down in Rome 10 years ago. So they're not awarded to just anybody. They're awarded to significant contributors to the field. That contribution could be scientific, it's most likely to be scientific, but it's conceivable it could be awarded to a journalist or a politician or a benefactor who had made a tremendous difference to our field. So I think we could discuss tonight, and I would like to discuss this now actually, what are the criteria for which we might award such a medal, given that we have a very high standard to reach in the person of Martin Fleischmann, the first winner of the medal. So I wonder what you think about that. I've raised this question before, and I raise it again because I think the time has come to consider other candidates. So I'm going to open the floor now. Yes, John.
I think Stan Bones deserves one. And neither.
May I ask, under what circumstances you would be prepared to come to a ceremony to receive such a medal?
He will not come. He will not come, but we can send it to him or do something so that get it, or organize a ceremony. I don't know, but he will not come, but I'm pretty sure of that.
That's very disappointing. I think when we've proposed candidate medal winners in the past, there's been some insistence they should physically come and receive the medal. This does not mean we cannot invent a ceremony to do that, but we can't just send it in the post and say, yes, here you are.
I know, but we have to find a solution anyway.
We have to find a solution. Let's start back.
You know, this is because of him and Martin that we are here. So they are two most important people in our field.
But let's start by proposing it and see if he accepts.
Okay.
I can go give it to him when I get my video interview for the documentary film.
I beg your pardon?
I can go give it to him when I get my video interview for the documentary film.
And when will that be?
When Jean-Paul tells me where he is.
But Ruby, the point is, this is a prestigious medal and costs a lot of money, and the donors and the society and the community actually want to see a ceremony, and so we have a press conference and produce publicity for the field, more money for researchers and so on. So it's not just a question of, it's not only a question of recognizing deserving winners.
There is a way out. Please.
One solution that Stan Bones would probably accept is that Jean-Paul goes there, because Jean-Paul is the only contact. Be filmed on site, giving the medal formally, and you present the movie, this video, in this conference. Virtual
I think
ceremony.
if there is a ceremony, I might persuade my colleague on the executive committee and maybe other influential people that we're not throwing away a wonderful opportunity to get publicity. So if there's some publicity involved, I think that would be good. I should say, in the last few months, another candidate for the gold medal has been proposed. I won't mention his name because it could embarrass him. And he said, really, I'm too old to come over to seizing. And I offered to pay a first-class flight or waive his fees and make it comfortable, but he still said no. He was very flattered. And this indicates, I think, the importance of having a ceremony. He knew that there had to be a ceremony. My colleague said, we can't just give it to him, as we did to John Bocris, who died, I think, the following year, actually. So I think we have to insist on a ceremony. It's going to be difficult to persuade people otherwise.
If we organize a meeting close to his place where he lives, and he can come over.
Sure enough.
Yeah, why not?
An idea.
Yep.
No, he may not come, even if it is next door. I talked, I mean, for some reason I am the go for standpoints, and when journalists or people want to meet him, I forward the message, and he never answered positively to talk to anyone, especially in public. So
okay. I think his stature is such we could make an exception then.
I think so too. We are only two, so there's only one left. So.
No, but we've got 4 still.
No, I mean people at that stage.
Yes.
Да. Слышал, что он сказал?
Has anyone had any more thoughts on the Constitution?
Никакого ответа от этих самых журналистов не последовало, чтобы вот как-то осветить в прессе.
I have a suggestion regarding the Brexit.
Yes.
I mean, nobody knows what will happen, especially not the British. So I don't think there's any hurry, because at this point we don't know.
Yes, agreed.
We wait and when it happens, then regarding of the situation, then we can adapt and change or not change depending on what's going on.
I was hoping to, at this meeting, to pass a resolution to form a CIO, but now Brexit looks like a serious threat. It's pointless throwing money away on a constitutional change which is not to the benefit of the members.
Yeah, because we don't know if there will be an agreement or no agreement with Europe, so everything is open at this point. We don't know.
Does anyone have a comment on the European collaborative funding, which I gave you a little brief set of accounts of what a 100,000 euro donation would do? Anyone thought about that at all? No? Shall I go back to that slide? Okay, this one. Does anyone understand that?
No, I don't understand.
Okay. I'm supposing that some rich donor gives the society 100,000 euros with a view that the society organises some research project. Okay? 100,000 is fairly modest amount of money after all. Because that is a donation, the donor can probably reclaim 25,000 approximately back, depending on what tax regime they're in. The EU will multiply that by a factor of 3. They'll pay 75% of the research costs because we're non-profit. In other words, we can get, if this was a for-profit company doing the same thing, there would be no tax relief, there would be no 25,000, and the EU funds would be 200,000. So basically, we double the EU funds available.
Well, okay, it does not work exactly like this. These are the rules basically for small and medium enterprises, yes. This is correct. But this money, you are supposed to spend it in the project. You are supposed to spend the money during the project.
Study.
Spend, of course.
Spend. Yes, of course. Yes, obviously.
Money that goes away. So at the end of the day, you made a project, but you don't have money anymore.
You're going to spend that.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And a project never goes to the small and or medium enterprise alone.
Of course not.
You need to be in a consortium.
Yes, yes.
So with whom is another story.
This figure is not it's not the entire amount of the project. It's the ICCF share of the project.
Yes, of course. Is it clear? Because European projects at times it's difficult to understand if you don't have the experience of European projects.
Yes, Dave.
It's likely if any of us approached a potential donor that we would have to have some notion of how the money would be spent. And developing that notion would have to be done in advance, so then we'd have to figure out how to do that.
Yes, and there are plenty of government agencies, or government offices, EU offices in Rome, Milan, and major cities who will help you do that.
Another thing you should know, as a general rule in the European Commission, only 10% of the projects are counted.
Well, I've been involved in 2 European projects, and both of them got funding.
Right, John, very good.
Yeah.